Welcome back to another episode of Searching for McGuffin with your hosts,
George.
Gabe. And that's you.
Yeah, Jonatan. I didn't know I was a host. I thought I was a guest.
Well, you're a guest host.
You're a host.
I'm a ghost.
Yep,
Ghost.
you're a ghost. That's right. Yeah, he doesn't know the intro because he doesn't actually listen to the show. So
I mean, to be fair, I don't listen to any shows.
yeah, but you make shows.
Yeah, but I don't make podcasts.
That is true. Our guest today to talk about this week's topic or the next 2 weeks on the art of animation is a colleague, obviously not a fan of the show, so not friends of the show, just a dude that the show knows.
Well, I'm friends with you guys.
Acquaintance of the show.
Yeah,
Fam of the show.
Yeah. Family of the show. I guess you could say that. He's family of the show.
And just like family,
I
they
don't
don't
support you
listen
guys.
to your stuff.
That's true. Family does not listen to you most of the time. So that's fair. Jonatan.
Thank you for inviting me to this wonderful podcast with you guys.
I appreciate it.
I'm glad I finally get to talk about things that, you guys usually talk about, but I actually work on.
Yeah. So it's a funny thing. So Jonatan is my brother. He is Gabriel's something.
He's my uncle.
Okay. Yeah. That
Everyone
makes sense.
seems to forget that.
Yeah. But he is a professional animator. He's worked on several projects, which we're going to touch upon today. We've talked about animation in the past in more like specific focus. Like we've had an episode on Pixar. You remember anything else, Gabriel, that we might have talked about?
You guys have spoken about
There's
anime.
a lot of like video game movies that turn like into animation.
Into animation, yeah. Like Batman's animated series, specific
The
episodes.
Ghibli movies and stuff like
Ghibli,
that.
yeah. Okay, so we got episodes on like different, basically, I guess franchises or genres, anime episodes, for example. But we've always kind of wanted to do a deeper dive into just the medium itself, right? But we felt like we needed, a professional voice, and this has been a long time coming. This season, we're getting a couple of extra more voices as our guest panel of hosts kind of fluctuates, and we open up the show a little bit. So, without further ado, Jonathan, thanks again for coming on the show.
You're welcome.
So what we want to talk about is animation as a medium and kind of like the mechanics behind it. What is it for someone who dedicates their life to this, right? Their occupation. What is it that drew you to the medium?
Should I introduce myself first?
Oh, yeah. You didn't introduce yourself. You're absolutely right. We just gave you your name and what you do. But go right ahead. Give yourself a formal introduction.
My name is Jonatan Ovaye. I am one of the owners of Team Legend Studios with my business partner, Thiago Levy. We own an animation studio in Miami, Florida, and we currently work on different projects. We have a very good relationship with Paramount, and we've done a limited series for Noggin for kids, and we are also releasing our own IP stuff, which we're in negotiations for a couple of those. We also are working on a comic book and a children's book because why not?
Yeah, children's book, actually. That's something we should work on, Gabe. I hear anybody can do them.
With the power of AI, anything is
ChatGPT.
possible. Can make a children's book in 5 minutes.
So as you can see, you've worked on this. You have your finger in a lot of pies. Original IP, working on other people's franchises. You have an upcoming, an already released project by the time that our audience listens to this, which we'll talk about. But what drew you to, this pathway?
So I've always loved games, cartoons, animation growing up. I've always had an interest in the arts, but I'm a more like, I guess you'd say, I'm a very technical savvy person, and I get bored really easily. So when in high school, people are talking about careers and everything you're doing, but the first question I asked myself is, I like this subject. Will I be bored in 10 years? And if the answer was yes, I'll move on. So, thinking like that, because, in my head, I do jump around a lot in different, and like to fit on different like subjects and things. Animation was something that I thought was just kind of infinite. If I wanted to work on games, I can do animation for games. If I wanted to work on a show or make a show, animation for shows, I can work on. And I even get, and during this time it was cool because in my career I've even worked on mixed reality projects and AR projects and VR projects, which was a new medium that in the 2010s that was really exciting to just experiment on. So learning all these different types of pipelines and all these different types of art, like of industries that animation could be implemented on, even medical animation I've worked on. It's always given me a new challenge, and it's always made me have to drop my head to have an outcome, the desired outcome to be something that I'd be proud of.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's why. So, and then eventually we realized, nobody knows what they're doing. And everyone is just full of it. So we went, you know what? We could start our own thing. And that's why we started our own studio. And we self-funded our own studio. We used to be in a small 125-foot closet.
Which, for anyone who can't do math out there, that's very small.
Yeah, it's literally like a closet,
a
walk-in closet. It was really, so me and my business partner, we did
Your
that.
office was like the size of this room, basically?
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
A little shorter, but a little longer. Yeah. Like, a little thinner.
So again, about the size of this room. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then from there, we've just been growing, building relationships, and just been doing all different types of works. We still work on some mobile games from time to time. We do different long-term projects. We've done cartoons for Puma. We did 2 of them, actually. Puma, yes. So, and we actually even, just recently, we actually did finish a cartoon with Puma, and they released it during New York Fashion Week last September at the Apollo.
Did you work with the famous friend of the show?
Friend of the show.
Who?
The fastest man alive?
The Flash?
Usain Bolt.
Oh,
he could not. He was like, "What was happening?"
I'm so confused. Yeah, no, yeah, that project, they used a lot of their ambassadors. Like, they used Ball, LaMelo Ball, Voice Force,
U-Ball.
Isn't that a director?
Neymar Jr.
Yeah,
Neymar. You
Jack
met Neymar.
Grealish.
You met Jack. You met all these people?
No, they just sent me audio.
Ah, okay.
I met none of them.
You've heard all these people?
Yeah. We was just sent the audio from the script from them.
Was he speaking Portuguese? Neymar?
Yes, actually.
Because I've never heard him speak English.
He speaks Portuguese in the cartoon. And
what do you do? You subtitle it, or?
But our favorite character that we always had in the Scram series that we did for Puma was West Side Gun. That guy's cool.
Who's that?
A rapper from New York, but he's cool. He actually just opened a wrestling promotion recently.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you don't know West Side Gun? I know him because of wrestling.
Yeah.
Is he one of the Gun brothers?
Yeah, no, he is not related to
Then I don't
Billy
know
Gunn or any
I
of
don't
his
know who that
children.
is.
Yeah.
He's the bastard child of Billy
West
Gunn.
Side Gun.
He's appeared on NXT, and I don't know if he's appeared in AEW. Maybe he's gone
He's
to
a,
shows.
he's a
like
wresler rapper?
Yeah.
No,
he's
he
a
doesn't
rapper.
wrestle.
Yeah, he's a rapper,
but
who's
he
like,
opened a
he's a
promotion.
super fan. And like, he did music for NXT during their black and gold era when they were like super hot and great. Yeah, so I think he's probably been to AEW shows, but I don't think on camera. But
Boom, boom, boom.
But he's a big fan. Yeah. Not friend of the show, but friend of the industry. 2 things that caught my attention. It was funny that you said that you were looking for something that would give you dividends over the course of a decade and on. It's funny because I don't think we've ever talked about this, but I've shared my kind of outlook on life, where what I'm doing now, my goal is like 10 years and then reassess and where I'm going. And it's funny that you were looking for a career that would give you like about a decade's worth and then pivot into some other kind of creative outlet.
I was looking for a career that will give me more than a decade's worth.
Right.
So I was looking for, and it's not like, oh, I chose this because I always had the desire of animation and cartoons. I always want to make my own game. I still want to make my own game. It's just at some point, right? At some point, you have to get to a place that you have to choose what you want to do. Because I want to do everything. But what we ended up deciding to do is let's make some muñequitos. Let's do some
muñequitos, yeah.
That's what I do. I play with cartoons.
Cartoons, yeah.
So, and because in animation, there's so many different ways. Like I have friends that they have successful studios, but they do like motion graphics or special effects. Maybe they focus more on 3D.
Mm-hmm.
We like to focus more on character and story. We want, character development. We actually do a lot of it. We actually done a lot of in-house development for Paramount throughout the years, and that's what these hires. And whether the project gets picked up or not, it doesn't matter. We still created these things.
Right, you created and you made a living off of it. Really quick, unpack in-house development for anyone at home who might not understand what that term means.
So in-house development, the way it works is that we do a lot of pre-production work, and we do some animation work, and then some we outsource to certain studios. But the in-house development is basically, like, let's say Paramount has an idea and they want to develop and flesh out this idea.
Mm-hmm.
And with one of their IPs, they would normally do it. They would normally get the in-house artists, right, to flesh it out, right. But with the whole thing going on with Nickelodeon and all that stuff, they actually outsourced it to us. So we ended up working on their in-house projects because those projects are not displayed to the public.
Yeah, and so what does that consist of? Like concept, animatics, all the way to a pilot, or not that far into development?
It depends on where it gets greenlit, because you have to have. Sometimes you just do something as simple as some character designs and a poster, and then one of the execs that are trying to pitch this idea will pitch it to the rest, to the studio, and if they greenlight it, then you would go to the next step, which would be like story and where it would be going, and and if you can get, and then if they like it as well, then they will green it to do like a pilot or to do like a series.
Mm-hmm.
So but yeah, pretty much that.
Yep. Gabe, you have anything for?
What is the Nickelodeon thing?
So that's actually a really interesting story. I mean, I don't know if you want me to get.
Yeah, if you could just like quickly go through it.
Yeah. So so when COVID happened, a lot of studios for live action shut down. Like, they closed because they couldn't work. So what happened is that there was a huge boom in animation, because animation, you can do a lot of work remotely.
So you'd say that that's like one of the big catalysts, because I think as a consumer, we have noticed like that we're kind of bombarded with an influx of animation projects, and it almost feels like live action is sometimes taking a back seat. Like, we're getting way more.
Or the stuff that we get from live action is trash.
Yeah, well, like, here's this whatever show, but then here's like 3 animated shows.
Well, I mean, like the animation for live action projects.
Oh, that's true too.
It's kind of garbage, where it's like maybe it would have benefited for more time from an actual person being there instead of then the VFX having to
all
work on that.
Well, all VFX happen. A lot. Yeah, that did affect the VFX in live action, because a lot of that work is outsourced to independent studios.
Mm-hmm.
And
domestically or internationally.
Either or. It depends on the way people nowadays pick up what studios do the actual labor work required, which is after the pre-production. It usually depends on the tax credits where the people financing.
So are you saying most of these artistic decisions are based on financial interests?
No. The artistic decisions are still done within. So for
I guess I mean who the artists get to be that do these choices, I guess.
Usually, yes.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example.
Who gets the job?
Let's say I pitch a cartoon, right?
Yeah.
And the cartoon costs, let's say, $5 million to make, right? Just random $5 million.
Does that sound about right? $5 million?
Well, it depends on the length and many other aspects.
Yeah, right.
We'll just use 5 for now,
Okay.
right? And then they go, but since we're pitching and we're running the show, we're showrunners for the show.
Mm-hmm.
We ourselves choose what artists that we hire for the show, and we work on it in-house. We do all the character designs, backgrounds, layouts, keys, animatics, animation, writing, all that stuff. But then the actual labor work to execute it, right, requires a lot of manpower. So normally you would want to, people would go out to, let's say, England, and we'll collaborate with an English company, and that way, and their cost and then because England has a tax credit system, after like $2 million, you get like 40% back from your cost. It makes the investors feel more comfortable knowing that they're already going to get some of the money back already from these tax
They're more
credits.
inclined to put it in there.
Yeah. So essentially, it's not so much that the creators' decisions are made out. Those are all made here, but the label work too for the animation, what you see, like the character gains rigs and the animation, that stuff gets sent out usually. They used to send it. A lot of people would use like Korean companies or companies suitable, but now that it's
North Korean companies,
only if you send it to China and they accidentally work with North Korea.
Accidentally,
It's all accidental.
Invincible.
Okay. All right, yeah.
So
is that why season 2 is?
They found
like that.
Yeah, you didn't see that they found storyboards in a North Korean server.
Yeah.
I'm not even lying. That actually happened. And like, we don't know what happened.
Yeah, I think we might have touched upon that in a previous episode.
Yeah, that's because China works with them.
Yeah. Going back to his original question about the Nickelodeon thing, because we went kind of on a side tangent. COVID, go ahead.
Yeah, so when COVID happened, usually it's really hard for an animation studio to succeed, and it takes a long time to get recognized. And COVID was a double-edged sword because we did have our own IP game got picked up. But because it happened a few weeks before COVID happened, they ended up dropping it because they didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
But at the same time, an animation studio, let's say us trying to grow it, we probably wouldn't be getting work from studios for like 5 to 10 years.
Right.
We would be just trying to get recognition. But because there was so many animation projects,
the demand went up.
The demand went so up, we got to, you could say, skip the line.
Yeah.
And we were able to be recognized by these larger studios for work, for service work. That's what it's called. It's called service work. And we've been able to do projects for them. So because of that, we were able, and in Miami, a lot of people from a lot of different locations, like New York and California, they moved down here. One of them was an exec from Paramount, and he saw our work, and he reached out to us. And from there, we were working in a project because they wanted to do he was thinking of pitching a Henry Danger anime cartoon, kind of like Batman the Animated Series.
Right.
With that
was originally an animated series, Henry Danger?
No,
it was live action.
Henry Danger is a kids sitcom from the 2010s.
A live action sitcom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's like for kids, for like 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds, but because those kids have a very age, they were wanting to do something more closer to like a teen.
So there's like a Henry Danger nostalgia factor. It's funny because you're talking about a property that obviously is age-wise outside of my wheelhouse.
Same here.
But so you're saying that now with the time going up, they can actually look back at that time as
was it that big?
Yeah, it was really big. 'Cause actually, what I found out is that it's huge in Brazil. Massively, like it's like on all the TVs and stuff. It's crazy. I didn't even know that until recently.
I feel like I've heard the name.
Me too. Same.
I don't even know. I'm picturing a dog for some reason.
It's is it like superheroes?
Yeah, superheroes. Yeah. It's a superhero sitcom. Yeah. Kind of like the same feel as
yes,
iCarly
I've seen this.
And like Sweet Life. That type of like comedy.
You see
not for me.
Yeah, you see the marketing and the iconography, and it kind of like jogs the memory. But obviously, we were not the target audience when the show.
No, we were already like adults.
Yeah. Okay.
So what ended up happening was that we pitched this idea. We designed the characters. We did this cool poster. Character designs, and then, but it never really got picked up. So it was like, okay, that's fine. It's just one of those in-house project things, right? And what happened is that they decided, because they had a script for Heavy Danger the movie, which this was gonna tie to. This was gonna be like kind of in between, because at the end of the first show, he leaves his town. Consider him like Nightwing.
Okay.
He's the sidekick of another guy. And then at the end of the show, he leaves to his, you'd say, Bloodhaven.
Right.
But in the show, it's dystopia.
Got it.
So he decides to be his own hero. So he leaves with his friends. So the cartoon was going to be the continuation of his adventures in Dystopia. Since I didn't get picked up, they still had a script for Heavy Danger. They decided to, I guess, whatever their slates are, because they do, all these studios, they have slates every year of projects.
And can you unpack slates?
A slate is basically a group of projects that they're going to work on within that time span. So usually, if they go, oh, we already have a slate, we have our slate for 2025 is full. That means they're not picking anything up to fund for 2025.
So much
because
stuff,
all those
they have stuff to work on already.
yeah, because they already have all those projects. So a lot of these studios, their actually states are actually busy until like 2028, 2029. So yeah, good luck trying to pitch to any of these studios at the moment.
When do you pitch it for that time though? Like,
or if you pitch early,
do you pitch it? Let's say they're busy and they're working now. Do you pitch it to them now so that you get a spot in 2028?
you could potentially do that, or if you know people, you could kind of bypass some of that stuff. And mind you, this is more in the U.S. market. The international market, they have those more openings and flexibility when it comes to projects.
And do you ever get like a lucky break, like in the sense that a project falls through, so now there's an opening in a slate?
We haven't done.
No, I mean like in general in the industry. Like, does that happen? Like a project will collapse and all of a sudden an opening comes up, like on 2026's slate where they thought it would be filled by something?
Usually not. Usually
not in animation, right?
No, they'll just consider it. Even in live action, they'll just consider it a loss and put it against the taxes.
Okay.
Kind of like how.
And they'll just produce less that year.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they'll not really produce the funding. Yeah, they'll just fund less that year or whatever. But so anyway, so since we were working on that, so take it back. December of 2023. This was back in 2021, 2022 that we did this. And no, 2021, because 2022 we did the Noggin project. So, and then 2023, and that's when the writer strike happened and the actor strike happened, and that froze the entire industry for 6 months. That was not fun at all. But what happened is that
I don't think it was fun for any of us in any industry.
So
I don't think it was fun for us, the consumers.
That was garbage.
Well, at least you could catch up on the good shows.
Were there good shows?
Few and far between.
Well, older good shows.
It's funny too, though, because even as a consumer, you kind of depend on the churn. I know in the industry working, like you're moving, you're making new stuff, you're creating, right? You're releasing. But even as a consumer, you kind of like the fresh and the new and the trends. And it's like going back to your backlog sometimes feels like, yeah, okay, cool, I get to catch up. But you want something new and timely because I guess it's when you go back and do something, you're doing it on your own. But when something's new, there's usually a conversation going on between, like a social aspect to it.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. I don't talk to people.
Yeah, that's fair. But I'm just figuring this out right now in this conversation because I hadn't thought about it that way. Like, you still need new content because in reality, you're not going to be watching the same stuff. So, like, for example, I work in a school and it's like, the kids are watching something, I'm watching, your colleagues are watching, you know, you'll get it together with your family over the weekend. All of a sudden, oh, you saw that Netflix show? Oh, yeah, I did. Or oh, that sounds cool, I'll check that out. That doesn't really happen when you're watching old stuff.
Yeah, and that's why you saw a lot of international stuff come out during that time too. Yeah. And that's why you saw a lot of push for anime and stuff as well, because they weren't affected by any of these strikes. You just that only affected how would you say it only affected the North American market.
Yeah.
And a lot of these were even produced because some of these studios actually try to outsource some of the writing and acting work to like UK and stuff. They're like, we're not taking the jobs of your people.
Right.
So we're like in solidarity with them. So even if you want, because for example, I'm in Miami, right? I'm in a right to work state. I'm not in a union. We don't deal with unions or any of the sort.
Right.
But you know, there's certain projects you're not able to touch because people you're working with can't work. And then you're like, well, I can't. There's no point. This has to go on hold. You know, that happens pretty regularly.
Yeah.
So, anyways, all this stuff happens, and there's a group. There's a nonprofit group here in Miami called the Miami Film and Media Market, right? Oh no, Miami Medium and Film Market, MFM. We know them. We've known them for years and years and years, and we're really one of the probably much only animation studio in Miami that actually does well. Oh, there's one other studio, but they outsource a lot of the work. That's not the point.
Yeah, we won't name drop them here because they're not on the show right now. Go continue.
So what happened is that they reached out to us. They go, hey, there's this director for this movie for Power for Nickelodeon that he's moving back to Miami. He wants to work with an animation studio.
It's cramping. Sorry.
Oh, he wants to work with an a local animation studio, and we feel like you'll be the right fit for him, right? His name was Joe Menendez, right? He's worked on multiple shows. He's worked on Picard.
Good old Joe.
All that stuff.
Thanks, Joe.
So we're like, yeah, we'll talk to him. We'll reach out.
Not that Joe. Go ahead.
Well, so we're like, oh, we can talk to him, no problem, right?
I'm sorry.
That sounds cool.
I'm gonna miss it. What does this guy do? He produces.
Director. He's
Okay.
a director.
For those just listening and not watching, Gabe missed it because he just got a cramp.
I got a
suddenly.
cramp.
He
I
just
had to
literally got
stand up.
Yeah, so he's a director. So he's worked on multiple shows. So he's directed and they're like, okay, what's the project? Oh, the project's Heavy Danger, the movie. And we're like, oh that's cool, because we know Heavy Danger. We did the research on it, right, for the cartoon a few years back, and then so he comes up to us, like we have a Zoom meeting, and he's trying to explain the whole IP and all this stuff, and we're like, no, you don't have to do this. We
love Heavy Danger.
No,
We're all in.
We're sold,
we're like,
dude. You're preaching to the choir.
No, we're like, oh, we actually know
We're
this.
Henry Danger maniacs, brother.
So yeah, so he was explaining it, right? He's like, oh, he's a little older, this and that. We're like, oh, we actually know this, because funny thing, we actually worked on pitching this idea for a cartoon, and then we show him the poster, and the clothes what he's wearing in the movie and the show and the cartoon is almost identical, maybe like a different color.
So basically, what happened was you worked on a project, it got shelved, and then some guy came up to you just randomly, seeing you want to work on this project that happens to be the same IP.
Essentially, yeah.
Dope.
Serendipity.
But it was and it was a movie. So he's like, oh, you're from Miami. You guys are in Miami. I'm moving down there. You guys do great work, and you guys have a relationship with Paramount already.
Everything
you
kind
guys
of
are
like,
vendors,
yeah.
and you know the IP, so it just made sense.
Everything kind of just like fell into place.
Yep. So it fell into place, and we did 2 animated sequences in the whole movie, the live action movie. The whole movie's live action except those sequences. He actually wanted us to do a recap sequence in the beginning of the movie animated, but that didn't get approved, unfortunately. So we did 2 sequences, and we have a good relationship.
Is there a
with
recap?
him,
is there a recap in the movie?
It's like a minute and a half. I think.
So like when making something like that, is it just like a lot of this has to get approved, this has to get approved, this has to get approved, and it has to go by? It's a lengthy process of like.
Yes, it's actually hilarious.
It's honestly crazy how these things get made.
It's
speak to that challenge, and then we're gonna go into like some of the other challenges.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. You know how I said earlier that people don't know what they're doing? Yeah, people don't know what they're doing. They're trying to justify their jobs. It's hilarious. I'll give you an example. When we were doing the character designs, right? We had we have 2 characters, Frankie and Swaz, right? They become cows in the sequences. They're like cows.
When that happens.
So we designed them. Based on the cows. Cows. Cows.
I do know cows.
Big, fat.
Do you know cows? I don't think you do.
So what happened?
Wait. Could you explain? Why? Why don't I know cows?
Because it just sounded like he had to explain it.
Oh, okay, that's fair. Okay, so
no, I'm just saying like so we were designing the characters with the personalities, but as cows, right? And we sent the concepts. The execs, looked at it. They're like, these are great. But one exec goes, oh, I don't think the cow should have udders because the udders look too phallic. And we're like, it's a cow.
Apologies, exec, if you ever hear this.
It's a cow.
The udder
exec. What do you think you're going to? Oh yeah, we removed the udders. Oh, you saved the entire film from being plagued with phallic imagery.
You should have been like, it's a moot point.
I think
was, but
you should have told him it was utterly ridiculous.
Yes, 100%.
He was just trying to milk you guys.
Do you have beef with this guy now?
Let me know when you guys. I don't know. I didn't deal with the director, dealt with the execs. But we're like, sure. So we removed the udders. That's why there's no udders in the sequences. But
so then, are they cows then?
What it? Yeah,
Because I
udderless
know cows. I know cows. They have
they're
udders.
utterly useless cows
So,
because they can't produce milk.
Doesn't that
anymore.
make them
Literally
bull?
utterly
Doesn't that make
useless.
them bulls?
Actually
No,
No.
no?
I think there's other differences.
Aren't cows all female?
Yes.
So then, don't they mate?
No,
with...
they're eunuch cows.
Okay. Oh.
They've been
Okay.
they've been
I see it. Okay.
Yeah.
Nip tuck.
nip tuck cows. But no, but for real. So those are some of the ridiculous things. But other than that, animatics, all the stories actually went through and find light colors. We didn't really get any pushback of the actual animation.
Okay.
Or the sequences required. Yeah, a couple of tweaks here and there, but it was actually pretty straightforward, surprisingly.
What's the animatic process like?
Well, the animatic process, first we start with thumbnails. We sketch out thumbnails of how the sequence is going to move forward, right? Like with the shots, the angles, layout.
You take
Layout's
shots?
really important.
You take shots?
No, just the film shots.
Shots of milk.
Film shots.
Oh, okay.
So what happened is that we would do like do a little thumbnail, do a little rough. From there, we would get that, we'd clean it up, in a more cleaner storyboard. But we would normally use like a program that, and then from there from the storyboard frames, we would quote unquote like pretty much animate it and to create the animation.
Right. What are some type of programs that you use?
Right now, well, we have we work with this wonderful artist. Her name is Anna. Great storyboard artist.
Shout out Anna.
Yeah, she's great. She's fantastic. So she one reason we like working with her is one, she's very good, very quick. She understands layouts and exactly what things should be placed fantastically. So, but she works remote from us, so she's not in she lives elsewhere. So, but she uses Storyboard Pro, which is the same people that own Toon Boom Harmony.
Okay.
The Canadian software company.
Oh, software company. That was a dating app
No,
Sounds like
for
it.
animators.
no. Toon Boom Harmony is
What is it? Toon Boom?
Toon Boom
Okay.
Harmony.
Toon
It's-
Boom Harmony. You're gonna tell me that's not a dating app for animators?
It's like, find your tune and,
And
then
then
boom.
in harmony. But yeah, so it's the number one 2D animation software right now. It's I don't like some of the upgrades that they do throughout the times, because just like all other software companies, instead of fixing things, they just put things on top of it.
Yeah.
And fun.
Software companies.
That's everywhere for like
Yeah, that's everywhere.
medical
Am I right?
software. That's
It's
everything.
like, oh, there's bugs. Nah, just put more features. People want it more and charge more.
There's like more drop down menus to try to hide it through different things and like just different pathways, so they have an excuse to like, oh, buy our course on how to orientation and training, so that it's
But
a
yeah,
scam.
it's but the software is very powerful and very good. So we use in-house Toon Boom Harmony. She uses Storyboard Pro for the storyboards and animax. But it's great though, because since they're within the same ecosystem, we can actually just import whole frames into Toon Boom.
They boom in harmony. It's a harmonious boom.
I don't even know how to respond to that.
Yeah. What are some of the other challenges you think? The biggest challenges as an animator and in the animation industry?
Honestly, the biggest challenge is time and money, just like most other things, because animation can be, especially 2D animation, which is what we specialize in, can be really expensive. It doesn't scale like 3D animation, because 3D animation is expensive up front, but through time you'll be using a lot of assets and stuff.
It.
In 2D animation, you're animating. You're just always animating, so you always have to make custom drawings. Always have to have substitution drawings. Yeah, you make rigs for certain things, but the rigs won't work for every scene. So animation itself can be relatively expensive.
Is that why we've seen like a move away from 2D in the West, at least here in the US? I feel like there's more and more 3D animation shows than 2D animation.
Yeah, 3D is, for shows especially, is more cost effective overall. I don't like 3D shows. I think most of them look like crap. I think the animation sucks the majority of the time.
Last one you saw that was trash.
Oh, well, I don't know if we want to just trash the hard work of animators out in the industry.
Well, no,
It's just not his preference. He doesn't like it.
The issue isn't that, because it's not the animators in the industry,
right?
It's because that's all outsourced these days, and when you
and lack of funds and time to
Yeah.
crunch and
a lot of the work here gets done is a lot of pre-production. Yeah, but they still do a lot of animation here, obviously.
yeah.
But a lot of the bulk of the labor is usually outsourced because of tax incentives
Okay.
and
So then going
such.
back to his question, that's that it for a question? What was the last terrible show you thought?
Last terrible show in 2D I saw. I mean 3D. I actually didn't even finish it, which was What If. I
didn't see it.
I hate
I
it.
haven't
haven't seen the season.
I haven't
Season
seen
2
this
is
season.
unbearable. Was unbearable for me.
Because of the animation.
Well, the animation was just bad. I don't like the rendering that they do, that cell shade.
You don't like the style, or you think it's
I think it's not well executed, because I've seen that style executed quite well in other aspects.
Mhm.
But again, probably could be budget. Probably could be maybe the animators messed up overseas and they had to pump it out.
Mhm.
Oh, actually, I lied. That's not the worst one. Worst one was Uzumaki.
Is it an anime?
Uzumaki, yes. Uzumaki is a really great, fantastic manga. The series came out from Adult Swim last year.
It's in 3D.
It's in 3D, but you could clearly tell from episode 1 to episode 2 that they had no budget.
Mm.
So animation is horrid after the first episode.
That sucks.
And yeah, it's a great story.
Oh,
but it
wait.
takes away.
Is this the one that's on Max?
Yes, it's the
Oh,
one
I've
that's on
heard
Max.
about this because when the first one dropped, everyone was like, "This show's
Amazing.
amazing."
Yeah.
And then when the second one dropped, they're like, "Oh,
Yeah,
no."
they lost all.
Yeah.
They blew their load on.
Well,
the
that was
first
like that was like a show I was watching.
I don't know. I think
Uh,
we can get that through censors.
It was an anime that I was watching called
Not bad.
Blue Lock. I was talking to you about it earlier. That like it just seemed like it was unfinished, and he was telling me that a lot of these projects basically have a certain budget,
Mm-hmm.
and they just used that budget on the last episode. The last episode was beautiful.
Yeah,
one. Yeah, they like.
you see that in TV too sometimes because you're like on live action television shows where you're like, nothing happened this week.
Like
Well, they
Ma-
spent
like
no money.
Mando?
Yeah, especially the penultimate episode.
Yeah.
And then the finale, you're like, this episode must have cost like $35 million.
Like was it
Yeah.
Skeleton Crew that we're watching that?
Yeah.
That show was great.
yeah.
But like was it the ship when the ship? Well, spoilers, but that episode, like the second to last episode that came out at the time of this recording,
Yeah.
when
The-
they were about to get like eaten by
Right.
the machine, that thing looked gorgeous. Like I rewatched it on
Yeah.
my TV, it looked beautiful, and I'm just like, I watch other shows like, I guess Star Wars shows, The Acolyte. I'm not trying to bury your hard work, but I just a lot,
Acolyte's
of, a lot of
garbage.
the
I
stuff
don't
just
care.
didn't. A lot of the stuff just didn't.
It just didn't feel as, well executed, I
It
guess.
just
is
did,
what
yeah, it
you could
didn't
say,
look as good either.
Yeah, like the resources weren't there. Right?
Yeah,
Or-
essentially.
Yeah.
Like I said, budget and time constraints. That's usually what affects the quality
The
of
effects.
work. Not including if you have good artists. Artists are very, very important, and a really good artist is far and few these days.
Okay, so you're saying the majority of artists aren't necessarily at the level that they should be?
I think that they're not allowed to express themselves to the level that
So
they
they don't
could.
let themselves get
They're being
better.
held back by the system and the demands of the job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I was just saying that's exactly what it is, because it's a lot of work, and the thing is that as an artist, sometimes it bothers you, because like I look at all my work and all I see is all the mistakes and all the crap, and I think it sucks.
Oh, I was gonna ask you that. Do you feel as an animator, it's more difficult for you to enjoy animation because of that? Because you're looking at it from a technical aspect.
I'd say it's polarized. It makes it more polarizing because I hate what I don't like, and I love when I see something done extremely well or in an interesting the way they were able to accomplish that task.
No, that's true, Jonathan. When we talk about different projects that when we get together and we talk about stuff, and Jonathan's like, "Have you seen this?" Or like he's just like in amazement, like they did such a good job with this, and it makes me. I'm like, all right, I'll watch it. Like I'm interested. And there's sometimes where Jonathan like, it's absolute garbage, and he's like, it's atrocious, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know it was that bad. But then he explains to me his rationale, and I'm like, I guess that makes sense.
Like it sounded
to his trained eye.
I'll give you an example, and I'm glad they finally figured it out, and I haven't complained about it anymore. 3D in anime. There was and you can see it like in Mugen Train, the Mugen Train movie.
Yeah.
It's-
Demon Slayer, right?
Yeah, Demon Slayer. One, when textures of 3D objects don't match the environment that it's in, it's off-putting. And two, the frame rate. For a long time, I would look at an anime and I'd see like a 3D character with 2D characters, and a lot
A
of
3D
anime
character or
a
environment?
3D character, like,
Okay,
or like
3D
a
character.
robot or
Okay,
something,
got it.
something moving, right?
Mhm.
Something alive, against moving alive
Yeah.
2D characters. It would irk me a lot because I would get really irked because what would happen is that a lot of those things would get rendered at, let's say, 30 frames a second or 24 frames a second, right? But the anime is usually animated in threes, so it's like 12 frames a second that the anime is being animated. So you're seeing this like the anime look of like the choppiness,
Yeah.
but then you see a smooth character at the same time, and you're like, what? Just take off the frames in the middle. You know who did a great job? Spider-Man did a great job with that.
Yeah.
With the Spider-Verse, they did
Yeah.
a great job, and a wonderful anime studio that they hit the nail. Madhouse, because all like when they would do Attack on Titan,
Yeah.
and the Titans just matched
Do you-
in look and in animation, because they would actually do it at the same time, and that's like, that's all you have to do, and now everyone's doing it properly. I'm so happy.
Do you feel that? What are your thoughts on Demon Slayer, the animation? Do you think that it's good? Do you think it's mid? Do you think it's
Demon Slayer,
like after Mugen Train? Like
Demon
have they
Slayer, the
improved?
animation,
Yeah, have they improved?
immaculate.
Yeah,
It's the most okay.
I think it's the most beautiful thing I've seen.
It's
like,
the most
in terms of
expensive anime per episode, which the budget is still in Western budgets crap.
Interesting.
So
And it's primarily 2D animation.
yeah,
Yeah.
with some 3D elements like backgrounds and explosions, like
Mhm.
something. Yeah, but it's primarily 3D. So it's interesting though, because let's say like I like to give this example because this example I know, like Invader Zim.
Yeah.
Right? Invader Zim
Love
came out in the
Invader
2000s. Fantastic show. That was like $1 million an episode
Back then.
back then. So imagine where it is now. Look
Probably
at
like
look at
1.5.
Demon Slayer. How much do you think an episode of Demon Slayer cost?
$5 million.
300,000. You know what a typical anime costs? 90 to 120,000 an episode.
Well, how come they're able to stick to 2D, do it well, and we can't over here? It's just wages, or
I mean, I don't live there, so I can't speak for them. But from what I've read and what people have told me is, animators there are just to take advantage of. By like they'll just.
I mean, that's believable.
they'll
Here,
down.
animators are taking
Nah,
advantage.
Yeah, but over
producer-
there, like your salary is like $30K a
So
year.
that's what it is. Just
and
they're
you
not
just-
compensating.
Yeah,
the
They're not
animators.
they don't compensate the animators there. And there was actually an issue from what I was reading that there was not enough people replacing the animators, because people are now thinking, well, if I can make money and I could do art, I might as well make a manga. It could be successful, and then I'm chilling.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it seems like the manga route is a much better route for artists in Japan than an animator route.
Which I think is so crazy because I know that producer Dan would talk to us about this.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that.
Like, because he was saying the exact same thing, like verbatim what you were saying about how they're taking advantage of over there and how people tend to go to the mangas. So
Oh,
when
I thought it was about the frames per second, because that's what I was.
I mean, no, but that's the thing. He said a lot of like what you've been saying, but as far as the animators that get taken advantage of, I lost my train of thought with that one. He was saying that, like, because I boggled my mind that these animes were making so much money and it's so popular here in the States. And I'm like, where does that money go? Like, it doesn't go to back to the creators, the animators, or the people over there?
No, what happens actually is, and I was reading an article the other day about it, is that apparently a lot of these studios, they're giving one payment deals to these animes. So over here they can get popular and they can max profit, but
it's that back end.
that's all.
like,
Yeah,
dividends,
they don't get anything other than what they got paid for the
up front.
upfront. Yeah. So I know over there, I know they're discussing changing that format, which I know which like Netflix stuff aren't very fond of that game change.
Yeah.
But it makes sense. 'Cause
Yeah, well, they should get paid for how it performs and how well like the work that they're putting in.
It's easier to get away
Yeah.
with that kind of stuff though internationally.
yeah. Well, not just that. Also, is that and the people that would make the money wouldn't even be the animators; it'd be the studios,
Right.
And then or the creator of the manga. 'Cause
Right.
usually most animes are based off of mangas.
Yeah.
So so regardless, animators they'll still kind of get shafted.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's been a great conversation, and I'm glad we were able to dig deep into some of the challenges. But I want you, if you could do me a favor, just stay there for like about 7 days, right? And then we're gonna 1 week from now we're gonna continue this conversation. So we're gonna end this week's episode, but we're gonna have Jonatan on for next week. We're gonna continue talking about the art of animation, and we're gonna take a look at how it manifests in live action, some of the trends that are going on in animation now, and some advice for upcoming animators.
Can I get a bucket so I can at least pee in it?
Yeah, sure. I'll bring one in now. And once again, for everyone listening or watching at home, Henry Danger, the movie.
Heavy danger.
That's what I said.
Oh, they said Dranger.
No, I did not. Well, I
It did
kind
sound
of
like you said
slurred.
Dranger.
Yeah, I kind of slurred. Henry Danger, the movie, available now on Paramount Plus. If you don't have Paramount Plus, get Paramount Plus.
Yeah, it has Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
It's
And
the
then
only reason you need it.
That movie's great.
Yeah.
I love that
So
movie.
just watch Henry Danger and Top Gun Maverick for at least 30 days. If you don't want to continue with Paramount Plus, that's fine. But just keep playing those two movies again and again. So we'll see you next week with Jonatan as we continue exploring the world of animation.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we're still going to have you. So,
Yeah, and then I'll say
Well,
okay.
okay. You're welcome. All right.